Natural law is the same for everybody. It doesn't apply to specific groups differently. Every single individual everywhere in creation has the same rights. No one has any more or less rights than anybody else, because the same behaviors is what we're talking about. If one person over here did this behavior, it's a wrong. If a person over there does that behavior, it's also a wrong. If it's a right for one person, it's a right for all people. There's perfect equality under natural law. Also, since rights are not created by humanity, and since they are the birthright of humanity, that's another place that the word right comes from. It comes from birthright. We have our rights not because anyone granted them to us, but because they are a birthright by the very nature of the fact that we exist in the cosmos. And that birthright was granted to us by the creator of the universe, not by any three-dimensional being in the universe. Since they are the birthright of humanity, gifted to us by the creator of the universe, no human being or group of human beings is actually capable of, quote, granting rights to anyone else, nor is any human being capable of, quote, revoking rights that do exist from anybody else. Yes, they can do those actions, but what I'm talking about is the legitimacy of those actions. Is it real? Okay? Yeah, my free speech rights were shut down in Philadelphia at one point. Passing information to people on a piece of paper, I was told I cannot engage in that behavior. Okay? I'll continue to engage in that behavior. I don't care what law is passed to say I can't do it. Okay? That person may have performed that behavior. I was violently accosted by people who believed erroneously, completely falsely, that they had such a right, but in nature they did not possess that right and can never possess that right. I'll go even farther than that, and I'll tell you, I did not choose to engage in this behavior, because had I done that, the consequences would not have allowed me to keep teaching what I'm teaching and reach more minds, to wake more minds up. But if I decided I did want to put that physical behavior down by whatever amount of force required to do it, including deadly force, it would have been my right to do so. And if you don't know that, you're asleep. You're not awake if you don't know that. Somebody would dare tell you you have no right to speak, and then violently put their hands on you to prevent you from speaking? You wouldn't take that from anybody if they weren't in such a so-called position of quote-unquote authority. It's called mind control and bullshit is what it's called. Okay? That's what that's called. Government is mind control. Government is mind control. It actually means mind control. The word means mind control. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Not my opinion, not my interpretation. The word government means mind control. From the Latin governare, meaning to control, and the second part of the word does come from the Latin noun mens mentis, meaning mind. Okay? It means to control the mind, because to believe in it, your mind has to be controlled. You have to be under mind control to believe in the concept that anyone else is an authority over any other living being. Okay? And people want to debate that last part, that mens mentis isn't the root of ment, because ment in English means the state of or the condition of. Well, just go back to the slide that we did on how our reality is built. Okay? Available information controls your processing of the data in the mind, which leads to the behavior, and therefore creates the condition. So the people who brought the English language and amalgamated it together were using older words that represented conceptual ideas. The state of or the condition of anything has to first exist in mind before it gets manifested in physical reality. That's why they use the Latin noun mens mentis, meaning mind, to mean in English the state of or the condition of. So, you know, I don't even want to talk about the validity of that etymology, because it is absolutely valid. That's what it means. It's what it has always meant, and it's the condition that government will always be, the control of other people's mind, to give up their sovereignty, not understanding their sovereignty as individuals, so that they can be controlled. It works through a concept known as jurisdiction. And when you start to break down words, you start to really understand what you're being told through the usage of those words. This is how these satanic systems work. It's all about spells, okay? It's all about word magic and word games. Jurisdiction comes from the Latin jus juris in Latin, which means law. The first part, juris, okay? And then diction. Diction is speech in English. The word diction is an English word, okay? And diction comes from the Latin dictere. The Latin verb dictere means to speak, to say. So we put them together to say the law. Jurisdiction literally means to say the law. I'll say what the law is, and then it will magically be that way. You know? That's why they call themselves authorities. Author. Author. What does an author do? They write things. See? So in your mind you're thinking they make things right. They make the rights. See? That's how mind control works, through words. And people never see it because they never stop to even break down the word or consider where it came from. Whenever you're hearing or seeing the word authority, you're seeing the word author, which in your mind you equate with writing something. W-R-I-T-I-N-G, writing. But phonetically, that is the same as writing. R-I-G-H-T-I-N-G, writing something, making it right. And the mind doesn't separate those concepts at a subconscious level. Okay? Hence is why they call themselves authorities, writers. And that is what they do. They write down the law. They call themselves legislators. I write down what the law is, and then it magically becomes so, on my whim or preference. And you know what that's called? I've said it before, and I'll say it again. It's called claiming to be God, is what that's called. Authority is nothing more than an illusion that only exists in people who are mentally ill. If you believe in authority, there's disease within the human psyche. Period. I don't care who's offended by that, get as offended about it as you want. Authority exists only in a diseased mind, because the concept is based entirely in violence and built upon the erroneous and dogmatic belief system that some people are masters who have the moral right to issue arbitrarily chosen commands that they call their laws, and other people are the slaves of that ruling class who have some sort of a moral obligation to obey the master class. And we call this authority. You know what I call it? I call it what it really is, slavery. It's called slavery. It always has been slavery, it is slavery now, and it always will be slavery. Let's stop euphemizing things. Let's call bullshit for what it is, okay? There's no inherent legitimacy to the concept of slavery, and never has been, and never will be. And we need to understand that's what that is. Authority is slavery, but we're just euphemizing it and calling it something different. Authority is the belief in the legitimacy of authority is the belief in the legitimacy of slavery. If you believe in authority, you have legitimized the concept of slavery. All believers in authority, all, blanket statement, ego hates blanket statements. All believers in authority are believers in slavery and supporters of it. 100%. Always have been throughout the entire time that the universe has existed, and always will be for as long as the universe exists. Blanket statement. Authority is nothing more than the idea that man can become God and through jurisdiction dictate the law. That's man wanting to be the creator of the universe and decide for himself what right and wrong actually are, instead of discovering those laws of nature that the creator has put into effect. It's the same old story, folks. It goes back for tens of thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years. There's nothing new. There's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing new here. It's the same story of slavery that's been going on since this species has existed on this planet. It was just called different things throughout time. You know, we had the old world order. It used to be called kingship. Kingship, the sovereign on the throne. Yeah, we still have kings and queens in certain countries. The unimaginable, unmitigated gall. Somebody calling themselves a king over other people. They're my subjects. I mean, you have to be joking. This concept that authority is vested in one. That person's the representative of God on the planet. You know? Has anything changed? Or have we just said, we've taken this old world, quote, order, you know, I put order in quotations because it can't result in order. It's actually the ancient slavery chaos system. Both of these things. And nothing has changed. Okay? The so-called old world order, nothing of the kind. The old world chaos. Now we have the new world chaos. They call it the New World Order. Well, I put new in quotes here and order in quotes because there's nothing new about it and there's nothing orderly about it. It's the old world chaos, the old world slavery. It just has a different name. We've wrapped it up in a more attractive package. Oh, I see, we have diffused the authority. Now, it's not just vested in one person because people would realize the inherent bullshit in that. It's now vested in a few people that call themselves government. We've taken the same magic, the thing that doesn't actually exist, this magical thing that is based in violence and coercion, and we've just diffused it. You know, we've diffused it to now several people have that magic. Okay? I mean, it can't get any more nonsensical, illogical, ridiculous, and immoral. And yet people still believe in it. This is their religion. It's their religion. It's their slavery, is what it is. Okay? Because it doesn't make a difference. Authority vested in one, authority vested in few, it's the same thing. Slavery. And being awake means knowing that definitively, deeply. There's only one true divide that exists in humanity. All the other things that supposedly separate us are divide and conquer strategies. Race, ostensible religion, background, social status, amount of money people make, how people dress, how people talk, what people look like. Divide and conquer. All divide and conquer strategies. Age, sex. It's all just ways of dividing people so that they're easier to conquer and rule. But there is one legitimate difference, and it has to do with the level of consciousness that people are at. And again, consciousness meaning the demystified concept of consciousness that I talked about in the first section, the ability to recognize patterns and meaning with respect to what's taking place within you and around you in your environment. That's it. So how much are you aware of the pattern? How much of the truth are you actually taking in and processing accurately and understanding? That's what I'm talking about by a different level of consciousness. There's only one true division in humanity that separates us into two distinct types of individuals. And that the criterion for that divide, for that difference, is whether or not an individual believes in authority and therefore believes that there is legitimacy to slavery or not. That's it. That's the only real difference between human beings.